Hey guys! So in a previous live stream video, I asked if you wanted me to make a video compiling some study tips from my subscribers, and you guys were super excited about the idea. I immediately made a post on Tumblr asking for your guys' #1 study tip, and so today I am making a video compiling 25 of them, and I think that any of these would be super helpful to apply to your own studies, especially with back to school coming up. If you apply even like 2 or 3 of these to your studying routine and your school routine, then you will definitely see a difference, and I really hope that this helps you guys. I decided to make this a printable as well. I typed up all of the ones that I have featured in this video today, and I'm going to link the document down in the description box. You can print that out, you can put it in your locker, you could put it like on a mirror, in an agenda, on a notebook, any place that you'd see it often, just to keep a reminder of keeping good habits. Sophia Myers says, on the weekends, study in the morning. Your brain is fresh and re-energized when you first wake up, and I found myself retaining more, focusing more, and getting a lot more done overall. Med Study says, review and revise as much as you can. Keep going over your notes or material often. It doesn't necessarily mean to memorize them, but just read through them before bed or something. This especially applies to moments during the end of the semesters when information taught at the beginning of the semester becomes hazy or hard to remember. If you keep reading your notes every once in a while, even for things you've already finished, it will help to recall information better when you need to for like an end of the year exam or something like that. Copy and paste essays and graded written work into Google Translate, and then click the audio button to get it to read the content back to you. Put headphones on, which is very useful if you're in a library or another quiet place and can't read work out loud to check for typos and spelling. That study tip was submitted by Study Like Charles Xavier. When you are studying for a big test or exam, don't feel that there's a certain number of days ahead or an exact amount of time you should be studying. That's very dependent on how well you retain information and concepts. Make a list of topics on the exam, evaluate your familiarity with them, and then develop a study plan based on that. And that study tip was from StudyPunked. StudyBlur and annotations say, have a minimalistic and clear workspace. It's much easier to work when you have the space to spread out and have very few distractions at arm's reach. Cultivate a workspace where you feel at ease and can focus. Albert Einstein once said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. The study tip from StudyBlur Hala operates around this idea. She says, whenever I'm studying for a test with multiple units or concepts involved, I like to do small verbal summaries after I finish studying each unit or concept. After you finish the section after, go back to that first section and try to summarize it again, but make the summary shorter. As you continue to do this and finish more sections, you'll be cementing the key concepts for each section in your brain. Hannah Banana Studies says, when I don't feel productive, I always go for a quick shower and have a cold glass of water. It always makes me feel refreshed and ready to fight the battles of work. Gmail2415 says, a study tip that helps me if you're trying to memorize something, particularly the steps to something, is to come up with motions for each step. Getting your body involved can help you memorize it, especially if you're a kinesthetic learner. Study on the go. I can always find an extra few minutes throughout my day when I'm out and about, whether I'm waiting in line for food or waiting for a class to start. I use the Tiny Cards and Quizlet apps on my phone, and I also keep mini flashcards with a binder ring on my purse or on my keychain. That's from Shav Study. Billy Studies says, talk to yourself. Yes, it sounds dumb, but it does work. Once you've finished reading over your notes, imagine you're repeating them back to someone as a lecturer or making a video about the subject. Try to make it entertaining and link in some examples from your own life. That lets you process things semantically, which is psychologically the best way to be able to recall information later. It helps if you do this a couple of times because practice makes perfect. Use a browser extension to block distracting websites while doing work on your computer, says Written Rain. Penguin Emma says, write down things you have to do. Use a bullet journal or a planner if that's your style, but write down homework you get when you get it and try to plan your afternoons and evenings around what you have to do and how difficult it is. It makes your homework time a lot less stressful if you know what you have to get done and when. Code Less Traveled says, keep a bookmark folder of things that motivate you or are the reasons why you're studying, so when you're in a working slump, you can browse through the links really quickly and center yourself again. I like to keep mine small and only things I know will truly motivate me, like a link to my dream school's homepage, a blog post about the career I'm working towards, a really meaningful quote, etc. Lil Perfectionist says, move while reading your notes. This works if you're getting sleepy at night and there's one more chapter. A few squats or jumping jacks may help keep you awake and alert. For each test, make a study guide and write it in a single notebook. Make sure to also give examples and all of the information that you are going to need for each section. Then when midterms or finals or state exams come around, you have one notebook with all of the important information for the entire subject instead of rifling through a bunch of papers and notes from throughout the year. That study tip was submitted by Post-its. Your local wannabe says, if you have a super important test the next morning that you forgot to study for, instead of cramming all night and not getting much sleep, go to bed a little earlier than normal, then get up earlier too. Have a good breakfast and relax, and then do your studying. The information will be fresh in your mind and you won't be exhausted. Find someone who's willing to spend up to an hour listening to you, quote, teach them about a thing, and once you feel like you've mastered the material, teach it to them. I usually do this by going up to a friend or a parent and being like, hey, do you want to hear something interesting? And then explain whatever it is I'm trying to remember for a test or an essay. Teaching, I found, ensures the person in question truly understands the concepts that they're discussing. This study tip was submitted by Cozy Canyons. In the search bar of Google, type in the name of the course you're taking in brackets and the word exams, and after that add EDU. This will probably give you past exams for that course that you could use to study and to test yourself with. This study tip was submitted by Olive Science. Local Tiny Planet Explorer says, if you ever feel like not studying, just try to do at least a little bit, like maybe a paragraph of reading or one math problem. Chances are that you will continue since the hardest part is starting. Most procrastination is in your head, so you just gotta get through that wall. Robin says, focus on improving a specific skill that will then boost your performance in multiple classes, like writing, speed reading, mental math, etc. It's not really studying per se, but it is a good way to improve overall grades if you see you're doing poorly at one kind of work. If you don't need your electronics like your computer, phone, or tablet while you're studying, put it away. I have a drawer under my workspace where I can put my computer, and I find it makes it easier to focus if I have more room on top of the desk where I don't see my electronics. You could also put electronics on airplane mode or just turn off the Wi-Fi if you need them to do your schoolwork. This study tip was submitted by Procrastinator Rehab. Herondale Heaven says, you can rewrite the first draft of your notes that you made in class to remember topics better. This way you can also redecorate your notes and color coordinate them that will help you in revising later on. Saf Maeve says, put sticky notes all over the house on places like the fridge, microwave, and doors with a word or term on them. So when you're about to open something, you have to say the definition first, which works really well if you have a ton of vocabulary to remember. Megan Mabelengen says, one of my tips for studying is to divide up your time when studying and to include your breaks. I personally write down what subjects I'm going to study for and for how long, and I also write down when I'm going to take a break. A good way to keep yourself accountable for a schedule like this is like a Pomodoro timer or an app like Forest or Focus Now. H.L. Dominguez says, don't be afraid to ask for help. If your parents can't help you with a math problem or a homework problem, ask your teacher or tutor. Not only will it help you learn, but also if you tell your teacher, then he or she will know that you are trying to do better, thus giving you more attention and helping you. It's better to ask for help than just getting a bad grade. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my